This week on Adventist News Network, Jamaica's Prime Minister praises the church's education and health outreach.
A girls' rescue center in Kenya expands.
And the latest on the church's status in Hungary.
These stories and more coming up.
This is Adventist News Network, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks for joining us this week.
First in the news, Jamaica's Prime Minister says the Adventist Church plays a central role in the island nation by providing education, health outreach, and social programs. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller met with Adventist World Church President Ted Wilson recently to discuss the church's contributions to society. Church leaders estimate that about 1 in every 11 people in Jamaica is an Adventist, and many church members hold top government positions. Wilson prayed with the Prime Minister for the people of Jamaica and said the church wants to be seen as an integral part of society, offering both social programs and spiritual guidance.
An Adventist rescue center in Kenya is earning recognition for providing a safe and supportive environment for at-risk girls. The Kajiado Adventist Education and Rehabilitation Center in Kenya recently won a €25,000 prize from the Girls to Girls initiative. The Adventist Development and Relief Agency and the church's Women's Ministry Department in Germany say the money will fund a much-needed kitchen and cafeteria for the rescue center. For more than a decade, the center has sheltered and provided education for hundreds of girls rescued from early marriages.
Adventists in Limassol, Cyprus, are planning to incorporate as a church after meeting informally for several years. Church leaders say the group of believers is impacting their community despite their small numbers. Limassol Adventists volunteer at the city's meeting place, which provides exercise classes, English language lessons, book clubs, kids' activities, and a safe place for community members to gather. Adventists are also supporting the city's growing Filipino immigrant community by providing a place for worship and fellowship. Some of the immigrants have already requested Bible studies. Church leaders say the potential for outreach in Cyprus is enormous.
Commissioned ministers will not be able to serve as conference presidents for the church in North America. Regional administrators apologized recently for some inadvertent oversteps in policy when they voted last year to affirm eligibility for commissioned ministers to serve as conference presidents. At the time, church leaders in North America said the move would spur church growth and open top leadership positions to more administrators, including women. But the move put the church in North America at odds with the World Church Policy, which states that only ordained ministers can head up local conferences. North American Regional President Dan Jackson says the church there will continue to promote equality of men and women in leadership and will do so in harmony with World Church Policy. You can read the full story at news.adventist.org.
The church's radio ministry is sharing ways to introduce Jesus to Myanmar's rural, unreached people groups. Adventist World Radio recently conducted a week of media technology training for dozens of Christians in the Southeast Asian country. They covered skills such as news writing, radio production, and digital sound editing. Media technology is limited in Myanmar, but cell phones are becoming more widely available. Adventist World Radio is finding that podcasts are now one of the best ways to share the Adventist hope in the country. Adventist World Radio's studio director in Myanmar, Tong Pao, says he's happy for the opportunity to help Christians reach the community.
Nearly 2,000 people attended the opening weekend meetings of an evangelism series in Las Vegas sponsored by the international television ministry It Is Written. Called Revelation Today, the series uses Bible prophecy to provide answers for today's uncertain world. It Is Written leaders are reporting that 500 people have already signed up for the local Bible school, and many are making decisions for baptism. The series runs through February 18 in the U.S. state of Nevada and other locations worldwide. It Is Written is a ministry supporting the Adventist Church.
Religious liberty advocates recently met in Croatia to promote tolerance and mutual understanding among religions. They discussed current threats to religious liberty in Europe and how best to protect freedom of worship and expression there. Earlier today, I sat down with John Gratz, who spoke at the event. Thanks for speaking with us, John.
Hi, Mark.
You recently got back from the World Day of Religious Freedom observance in Croatia.
Yes.
What are some of the major issues regarding religious freedom in Europe?
In Europe, it's the main issue in the past was between the traditional religion and what they call the new religion, the cult, and so on. And in some secularized country of Europe, they even establish a list of sect and cult, which create a lot of problems for religious minorities, including us, And we had to face, and we have to really to make our best to make sure that people can see the difference between a religion, a church, a world organization, and maybe some dangerous groups. That was a very important point.
Now, you gave the president of Croatia an award, or he received an award.
He received an award,
at
yeah.
this event. What has he done to promote religious freedom in his country?
He has personally, attended several meetings about religious freedom, and he openly said that Croatia should be a country where religious freedom is respected for all. And that was really enough to change the vision of people about religious minorities. But I have to say that we have been very active in Croatia for years and years and years. And now we are reaping in some ways the work we have done. And we have now very good relation with a government which is supporting religious freedom in a country which is mainly a Catholic country and which had to face with a lot of problems in the past.
Now, Hungary is another country that has made news just this week on the religious liberty front. What's happening there?
Hungary decided last year that only 13 religious groups and churches could be accepted, about 13. And now they decided that after a reaction of many NGOs, including us, that 17 more should be proposed to the parliament, and maybe more will come. And we are happy because the Seventh-day Adventists is among the 17s and some other religious. It means that the law, which was very, very restrictive, is becoming more open, and that is the positive side. But it still has to be voted by the parliament.
John Gratz, thank you for talking with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Mark.
When we continue, a treacherous mountain climbing accident teaches one hiker a lesson.
Welcome back. Here's Steve Chavez with a preview of this week's edition of Adventist Review.
If you enjoy hiking, or if you've ever climbed a peak that's more than 14,000 feet in elevation, you'll enjoy this week's cover story, In a Quandary on Quandary Peak. The author, Ben Herzl, writes about what happened when he, a few of his buddies, and a dog named Horton tried to reach the summit of Quandary Peak in Colorado's Rocky Mountains. Oh, and did I mention it was blowing snow? And this week's Andy Nash's column has the intriguing title, Older Men Who Feel Stuck. I won't spoil it by saying any more. Most people know Loma Linda, California is one of the few places in the world that has the largest number of people who live over the age of 100. Well, this week's news section has a feature story about the first McDonald's restaurant to be built in Loma Linda. The article, reprinted from London's Daily Telegraph, contains some of the reactions of people who call Loma Linda home. In Becoming the Change, author Andrew Curbs wonders if there's an effective way to reach secular college students with the gospel. The issue came up when someone approached him about considering Hinduism. Then, if you can't find anything else to read in this week's issue, check out an editorial I wrote called Crime Scene Investigations. It's all about following the evidence. These and many other features are available in this week's Adventist Review. Read it online at www.adventistreview.org. Happy reading.
Next, we introduce you to an Adventist supporting ministry delivering building supplies, medical equipment, and missionaries worldwide. Jared Canonical has more.
Adventist World Aviation is a layman's logistical support organization established during a series of meetings held at Andrews University in March 1995. Officials from the General Conference of Seventh-day Adventists met with approximately 50 aviation and business professionals to examine aviation's role in fulfilling the commission to take the gospel to the world. And since then, AWA has been doing just that. Having worked with almost 70 people groups and involving over 5,000 youth in their programs, AWA is reaching their goal of helping those in need and spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. AWA brings building supplies to remote places and helps build churches and schools. They deliver medical supplies that bring healing and comfort to people living in remote villages and have helped to alleviate multiple epidemics. In over 8 million missionary miles flown, they have delivered 2 million pounds of food and supplies and conducted over 2,000 emergency medical evacuations. We can't wait to show you how Adventist World Aviation is impacting the world in regions like Guyana, Alaska, the Philippines, and many more countries. We'll talk about how they train young people to serve their countries and churches, and most importantly, their Savior. You'll hear about people who are dedicating their lives in the service of others. We hope you will be blessed by their stories. To learn more about Adventist World Aviation, please visit flyawa.org.
Now let's turn to Megan Browner for this week's Adventist social media highlights.
This week we shared a video from Christ is King Productions with our social media friends and asked you for your reactions. The video is called Why I Hate Religion But Love Jesus. Here's a short clip.
Now let me clarify. I love the church, I love the Bible, and yes, I believe in sin. But if Jesus came to your church, would they actually let him in? See, remember, he was called a glutton and a drunkard by religious men. But the Son of God never supports self-righteousness, not now, not then.
On Facebook, Mark commented, I love Jesus, but I find the whole hate religion to be ludicrous. What I see people saying is, I can love Jesus, but don't like the idea of connecting with a body of believers that holds me accountable for my actions. Sandy said, I love going to church. God wants us to be around other believers, and that's in the Bible. You come as you are in our church, and it's all about Christ when I am there. Brenda on Facebook said, we shouldn't spend our time looking at other religions. She said, it is also not our responsibility to keep people on the right path. Jesus has claimed that responsibility. On Twitter, one Rebecca said, religion is a system of rules. Jesus wants a personal relationship. T. Arise says, the young man hates a certain kind of religion, yet Jesus spoke of a better religion, not the absence of it. TNT Roger thinks that sometimes organized religion protects man's authority over man rather than God's authority. An End Time Sermon says, if there is a difference between religion and Christianity, then he is right. Make sure you join our conversation this week on facebook.com/Adventist News and twitter.com/Adventist News.
Viewers who live in cold climates have more to worry about during the winter months than shoveling snow. Adventist Risk Management has some cold weather advice.
I'd like to talk to you about the risk of frozen pipes. When pipes freeze, they crack, and even a small crack can release a lot of water in a short amount of time. This kind of water damage can ruin your personal belongings, your furniture, and even the floor. In the United States alone, frozen pipes have caused over $4 billion in damage over the last 10 years. That's a billion with a B. That's a lot of money. And even if you live in a part of the world where you rarely experience freezing temperatures, you still need to know how to avoid frozen pipes. Just be aware of upcoming freezing weather and be ready to follow the next steps. Keep water flowing. When you expect freezing temperatures, you should keep taps running, especially those with pipes that run along the outside of a house or a building. Keep warm air circulating. Open the cabinet doors to allow warm air to circulate. Preventive maintenance is important. Insulate your pipes if possible. Add weather stripping and caulking where needed. The simple tips can keep your property safe and avoid costly headaches. I'm Karina Franca, and this has been a simple solution from Adventist Risk Management, providing risk management solutions for the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Still ahead on Adventist News Network, a group of women in Russia put a new spin on outreach.
And up next, this week's Tech Corner.
As I was reading The Great Hope, this phrase caught my attention. When the Savior was about to be separated from his disciples, he comforted them in their sorrow with the assurance that he would come again. He said, "Let not your heart be troubled. In my Father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself." John 14, 1-3. Here is why this brings me hope. The angels repeated this promise. John, Paul, many writers have reminded us of this. All through the ages, hope of the faithful has been looking forward to Christ's return. I see suffering, pain, persecution, sorrow all around, and I know that soon this will end when Christ fulfills his promise.
Welcome back. Want to reach a global audience with your website? John Beckett explains how to offer your content in multiple languages.
Today we're going to look at an easy way for you to make your website available in multiple languages. The method we'll show uses computerized translation. This kind of translation is never as good as having a native speaker translate, but it still can be an effective and inexpensive way to present your website in other languages. To get started, head to translate.google.com. Type in your website address and select a language. Click Translate and you will see a preview of what your site looks like in another language. To make it easy for your website visitors, you can add a Google-powered language selector to your site. Go back to translate.google.com and click Website Translator at the bottom. Now you can customize the way that the translator dropdown will look and what languages will be offered. You can even choose to only display the translation tools when the visitor's web browser is set to a default language other than what is used on your site. As you work, you may want to occasionally click the Preview Your Page link to see how it will look. Once you have everything set up to your liking, copy the snippet of code from the box into your site's template. Many content management systems, including NetAdventist, make it even easier to add Google Translate. For instance, with NetAdventist, all you have to do is add Google Translate widget to your site. To learn more, go to translate.google.com.
Adventist women's ministry leaders are encouraging women worldwide to creatively serve their communities. For some Adventist women in Russia, that means even the most ordinary objects become tools for ministry.
One of the questions that I get asked the most as I travel is, why women's ministries? Why aren't we just called a women's department or a women's office? And I tell people, because the word ministry is important. It means to serve. And that's what we women are involved in, serving others, serving as Jesus served. Our theme for our department for the past years and for the future is a ministry for every woman, touch a heart, tell the world. We believe that if every woman is involved in serving someone else, where there is a need, of course, then each of us is going to be involved in touching hearts and telling the word about Jesus. There are thousands of projects going on in various communities that I could tell you about, but we don't have time for that. But I do want to share with you one. In the country of Russia, there are women who have decided, if we're going to reach our sisters in the community, we can't get them to come to church on Sabbath day, but let's see what their need is. And they discovered that in the rural areas, the women's need was for a washing machine. They wash their clothes by hand. So the women of the church bought a washing machine, put it in a room in the church, invited the women to come to wash their clothes. And while they're waiting for their clothes to be washed, they give them Bible studies and health studies and family studies. It's our way of reaching out and touching the world for Jesus.
When we come back, the news you reported this week, and later in the program, how Sabbath school animations are reaching kids.
I don't remember any moments that my parents hugged me or held my hands, or I never heard that they say, "Liana, I love you." I was struggling with a severe depression.
Welcome back. Let's turn to Sergio Gonzalez. He has this week's iShare report from a viewer in Monterrey, Mexico.
Welcome to iShare, where you bring us the news. This week we have a submission by Jairo Sanchez. He sends us an iShare report about a recent trip to a nursing home with the Adventist Church and Ministry group Vertice. The group is based in Monterrey, Mexico, and serves the community through volunteering, music, and Bible study. Here's more. To find out more about the first young adult church in Latin America, visit their website at vertice24.com or at facebook.com/verticeoficial. And while you're online, share your video reports and photos with us at news.adventist.org/iShare.
The church's Sabbath School and Personal Ministries is developing new ways to reach kids. Every week, the department releases a new animation on its GraceLink website.
Several years ago, we started audio podcasts for primary kindergarten in French, English, and Spanish. We then took that idea and decided we wanted to spruce it up a bit. So we began a video production, an animation of the kindergarten Sabbath School lesson. Every week, we released a video that related to that week's lesson. We found out parents were using it as part of their worship. There was a little girl that used it to tell the story to her younger brother from the book. We found also that churches used it as a way to calm the kids down so they could start the lesson out. What was interesting was it calmed the parents down. Now, this is a free resource that's available for download on vimeo.com/sabbathschool, on youtube.com/sabbathschool with subtitles, and on the iPhone app or the iPad or Android app for Sabbath School. And it's also available at gracelink.net.
Now let's turn to Benjamin Baker for a look at Adventist history. This week, the church's earliest roots in China.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On February 14, 1903, the first Seventh-day Adventist baptism in China took place in the city of Xinjiang. The following day witnessed the organization of the inaugural SDA church in the country, boasting a charter membership of 8. Abram LaRue, the denomination's initial missionary to the region, had entered Hong Kong in 1888 when he was 66 years young. LaRue diligently canvassed the bustling port and also applied mainland China, Japan, Singapore, and other nations during his 14 years of service. His prayers for dedicated missionary couples to join in his trailblazing efforts were answered with the arrivals of Doctors Maud and Harry Miller, Susan and Edwin Wilbur, and Emma and Jacob Anderson in 1903, the year that LaRue died, having witnessed for his faith until the end. The first Seventh-day Adventist Chinese missionaries to China were Timothy Tay and the physician Law Kim. 1906 featured the ordination of the first Chinese minister, Inga Pit Kay, and the organization of the China Union Mission took place in 1909. And that was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching Adventist News Network. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, look for us on Facebook. You can connect with other Adventists worldwide and find links to all of our stories, photos, and videos. Just visit Facebook/Adventist News.
And as always, you can visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next week, God bless.